I read at least dozens of books on personal finance and have found that the rules are quite simple. And they all say the same thing. So let me break this down for you. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Dee from Living With Me. Welcome back, and if this is your first time, welcome. Personal finance isn't really complicated like I assume many of you thought or think. The rules, in fact, are very simple. It's just a handful of timeless principles, really. Today I'm going to walk you through 9 simple money rules that, if followed, can help you build stability and wealth. Let's get going. So rule number 1 that all the finance books that I read have suggested is spend less than you make. If more money each month leaves your pocket than you bring in, then you have a problem. Either find a way to make more money or start budgeting and spend less. I personally have learned that at certain times in my life, I didn't make a lot of money. When I broke it down, I still spent more money than I should have, really. Once I started budgeting and stopped spending all the money excessively, I had enough money for at least basic living. So conclusion, if you are each month spending more money than you make, something needs to change. Rule number 2, save before you spend. You've probably heard this so many times, pay yourself first. What that really means is if you can automate money before you even spend it or even get it, automate that certain portions and percentages go into maybe your savings, maybe your 401k and so on. So you have the money that you need before you start paying anything else. Even if it's a small amount, it adds up over time. In my opinion, the book that best describes the principle of pay yourself first is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. If you haven't read it yet, I highly suggest it. And rule number 3, avoid bad debt. Now, in my opinion, and there's different opinions on this, all debt is bad. Obviously, if you are fully debt-free and need money to buy a house or something that is of value, you will go and get a loan if you don't have enough money saved, especially in today's market, it's very expensive. So that would be considered a good debt. I still don't like the idea of good debt, but I understand if you think that there is good debt. I partially agree. I just have lived with debt so long in my life that I just can't stand the idea. I'd rather not have a house. But when the time comes, depending on how much down payment I have, I will probably also go that route. So I understand why this is considered a good debt. But generally, debt is bad. We're talking here about consumer debt, spending money on stuff that you don't even need, credit card debts, and so on. Those are bad. Avoid those as much as you can. And you can. You just have to want to, truly. Rule number 4, have an emergency fund. Depending to who you speak, all these personal finance teachers and gurus have different opinions of what the amount should be. I personally follow Dave Ramsey and he wants you to save a baby emergency fund of $1,000. Yes, I know, that's not enough. But as he likes to say, it was never intended to be enough. It's just a little buffer between you and life. So when something breaks down, medical bill comes up, or you need to replace something and it's really an emergency, you have that little buffer to prevent you from swiping a credit card again. Once you have saved for the emergency fund, once you pay off debt, then you focus on saving for a real emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. So have an emergency fund which is really designed for just emergencies. Rule number 5, invest, and invest early and consistently. Time in the market, I've read, beats timing in the market, if that makes sense. Small amounts grow big with compounding. Now, granted, I haven't done that. I'm 37 years old. I haven't started early, but whenever you start, you'll still have more than if you didn't start. So focus on that and don't cry over what already has passed. Rule number 6, live below your means. Life inflation's trapped people. Have you ever met someone who makes way more money than you do? Very often 6, 7 figures, but yet live paycheck to paycheck. Make sure your money habits are stable, and even if your income grows, you don't spend like you live in a parliament, if that makes sense. Make sure your expenses are stable. Rule number 7, budget and track your money. What gets measured gets managed. If you don't know where it goes, you simply can't control it. This one was maybe the hardest for me because I've never budgeted and I just kind of felt like my money is leaving me before it even hit my account. I just told my husband the other day, oh my god, for the first time in my life, I feel like I wasn't excited to get a paycheck this past Friday because I knew I'm solid. Everything is covered because I budgeted for everything and the money hit my account. Great. Now all I have to do is decide this month how much money am I paying towards my next debt so I can close the card. Versus before, I was always grasping for air. I felt like I was always trying to get above water and then I would sink, which is a terrible feeling. This feels much more comfortable and much better, much more reasonable, almost mature. Rule number 8. Protect yourself. I'm talking here about insurance, proper planning, so if a catastrophe or disaster happens, it doesn't just wipe you out. I believe in my last video I spoke about how I paid off $45,000 and then almost the second I paid it off, I went back to debt. And this is exactly the reason why it happened to me. I didn't plan. I didn't have any insurance in place. And when the first problem arose, I had to go back to credit cards because I didn't have any savings in place. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have anything. So this is a very important one to stick if you want to have financial health in the future. And last but not least, rule number 9, keep learning. Money rules are simple. Trust me if I say that. I never thought that way. But with a little bit of head knowledge and a lot of discipline and practice, it can be achieved. And you can create a financial life that you deserve and want. It's about doing the things that you learn, not just knowing them. It's about budgeting, for example, and not just knowing that you need to budget. It's about planning and actually executing, not about just thinking how you're going to plan. This is my big problem. I have all the head knowledge, but when it comes to applying it, I slack. So the first time I actually started following these rules, I realized things can be done. So tell me in the comments down below, what rules do you think you're mostly sticking to and what surprised you completely? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!